I think you're going to be very disappointed in
I can't.
me.
I got one of the. I gotta say, I got a very similar story for you, but we'll hold that off for another time.
Yeah, which just good way to start the live broadcast is both me and Sam telling each other that we're going to be disappointed in each other. But
The first section of today is confession.
yeah, the first section of this today is why we are disappointed in each other. But anyway, it is Super Bowl Sunday. Welcome to Blue Collar Game Day. Of course, I am your host, the General. I got a couple faces here with me. You recognize Mark Pacelli from last week. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. Just excited for what should be an awesome Super Bowl Sunday. First one in maybe a decade that I didn't have some form of a rooting interest in. So it's stress-free for once.
Yeah, it's a little different this Sunday. I'm going to touch more on that. You also got I got Sam from Source here, Source Podcast. Of course, you know Source Podcast from Blue Collar Bets on Friday nights. What's going on, brother?
How's it going, Steve? Great to be here with you guys. I don't have a rooting interest emotionally, but I always have a great way of giving myself a rooting interest, and that's by choosing a side and putting a hefty dose of units on it. So that's how I do it myself. But
that's one way.
That's definitely one way to do it. I would not recommend for everybody, but that's why we do Blue Collar Bets on Friday night. And I actually gave out my picks there. So for those who saw that, we'll get a little more in depth. But for those who didn't, let's get into it.
So as I'm still adding the banners here for us, I had to touch on it mainly because a certain person got elected, but the Hall of Fame finalists were announced the other day. I'm not. The whole list isn't that great to me. I think a few of these guys were a little borderline. I think, but the big part of it to me is that Richard Seymour made it in, and it's. And of course, Mark and both of you knew where I was going with this. He shouldn't have been waiting this long. He just shouldn't have been. And people argue with me the other day. His sack numbers were low. If you're saying his sack numbers were low, I don't think you were understanding the job that Richard Seymour was being asked to do on the football field. Because he was not being asked to sack the quarterback as a 3-4 D end. And he got a pretty good amount of sacks for a guy whose job was not to sack the quarterback.
Well, and something I want to point out is that, Aaron Donald has 12 sacks this year in the NFL. That's not even top 10. Would anyone question that Aaron Donald's not the best defensive lineman in the NFL and probably the best defensive player in the NFL? I'm not making the comparison because they're completely different players, but I'm saying the job of a nose tackle is not necessarily to get those sacks,
Yeah, it's to blow up the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and those Patriots teams too, they switched so often what roles and responsibilities were supposed to be. Richard Seymour was sometimes just helping stuff the run and depending on who they were playing, and it comes down to what are the criteria for Hall of Fame voters? It feels like it's always changing because if you're going off the straight numbers, there's a certain notable safety who still isn't in, who Leroy Butler just got in over.
I was just going to get into this. I tweeted it the other day. Rodney Harrison is still not in the Hall of Fame. He's not even being considered anymore, if he was ever considered. But Leroy Butler and John Lynch have both gotten in. And it is not me being biased to say that Rodney Harris was a better player than both of them. Because the stats are there.
I have a question for both of you, and this is, I'm not trying to make a joke or a point, but it's a serious question. If Rodney Harrison makes the play on David Tyree's helmet catch, and the Patriots win that Super Bowl, is Rodney Harrison in the Hall of Fame right now?
I'm gonna say no, and
yeah, I'm still gonna say no.
I figured as much.
Yeah, my reasoning is I think he's not in because he was mean to the people who are voting. We see the same thing
publicly trashed him.
Yeah. We see the same thing in baseball. If you're mean to the voters decide you didn't make a big impact on the sport because you weren't nice to me.
It's
Kurt Schilling.
so. I mean, they come up with one of the things that I saw them saying is the reason that they inducted Leroy Butler is he's one of only 6 players in NFL history with over 30 interceptions and 20 sacks in his career, which is okay. That's a cool stat. Good for you. That's impressive. Good for you. Rodney Harrison is one of only 2 players in NFL history with over 30 picks and 30 sacks in his career. So
he's 30-30, but that's not enough.
And the other guy, I mean, like I said, there's only 2 people who've ever done that in the NFL.
Ed Reed?
Ray Lewis.
Yeah,
the only 2 people in the history of the NFL that have done that are Ray Lewis and Rodney Harrison.
You don't really remember Ray Lewis.
But one of them's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And by the way, the other one who is a Hall of Famer killed somebody.
Yeah, he murdered a guy. Great football player.
Yeah, no, and I'm not like saying he shouldn't be there. I'm just saying like, where are we drawing
but the Hall of Fame isn't about who
was mean to me
who you
and
killed.
He killed a person. You know that which one is worse?
It's
why is there a character?
Rodney Harrison was a dirty
Which one is
player.
the character problem?
Yeah,
Rodney Harrison was a dirty player. Okay, Ray Lewis was a fucking murderer.
Also, Ray Lewis was
please don't. By the way, Ray Lewis, please don't kill me. But
yeah, don't kill me. I'm just being honest.
It's just a comparison.
I have friends who are killers. I don't hold it against you.
Ray Lewis also a
notorious sometimes, you know.
notorious stat patter too. Ray Lewis, someone who would get credit for a tackle by jumping on the pile. Take that into consideration too. Sometimes numbers can be manipulated.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, what it comes down to is, and it kind of comes down to it in a lot of other sports, is not necessarily the statistical impact, but what kind of impact they had on the game, or big plays or big things they did in big moments, because that's what people. And I'm not saying I agree with that. I think Steve, I'm a numbers guy, but
yeah.
Everyone, it seems that they put them in because of something that they did, or they don't put someone else in because they might have the numbers, but they weren't as memorable. It's all about, how you remember them.
And I can understand putting guys in because of
bias. That's the word.
Memorable moments, though, I can see as being a way to put someone in the Hall of Fame, because it's part of my argument for Julian Edelman to the Hall of Fame. When you go back and look over the past decade, the playoffs.
One double catch alone.
That the game-winning touchdown in the Seattle Super Bowl, people forget about the Super Bowl MVP, memorable big moments in big games. That's one of the things that I think should be remembered and valued for this Hall of Fame voting. And that's so you brought up. Okay, so Rodney he doesn't make the play on the luckiest play in NFL history that the Giants had.
Agreed.
But look at the Super Bowl against the Eagles. What was it? The 2003 Super Bowl? I always screw the back-to-back ones up. I can't. That's one of the New England Patriots fans' problems, is that sometimes we screw up which year we won. We beat which team in the Super Bowl. But the Eagles Super Bowl, he dominated.
Yeah.
He had the game-winning interception at the end. There's moments right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look at the Super Bowl before. He breaks his arm against Carolina, and that's when Carolina starts to move the ball. He always had such a huge impact, Rodney.
Yeah. And I definitely wasn't trying to take away from everything he's done with his big moments as well. I was just saying.
Oh, no, I know.
I feel like sometimes when we talk about people who get in who maybe shouldn't get in, and that's kind of what and I'm not saying this is the case, because I actually believe this is an outlier of the case, but I wanted to talk just for a second about Dick Vermeil getting in, because I think it is incredibly impressive what Dick Vermeil did over his career, and the numbers do not show that. I mean, he had a career record.
I agree. His numbers do not show how good of a coach he actually was.
He took over teams that were in the dumpster and turned them into playoffs teams. And obviously, I'm just using this as reference. I don't know if anyone's seen Invincible, but that team that they use as an example with Vince Papale, he ended up taking that team to 4 consecutive playoff appearances. If you know, at the beginning of the movie, they're so bad they're holding open tryouts for people in the city. So like there's just, and that's obviously not that accurate, but at the end of the day, you know, that's a professional football team that was clearly struggling. He took them 4 consecutive playoff appearances. He won Super Bowls with 2 different franchises, which is he's one of only 7 coaches to do. And what's most impressive about it for me is that he came out of retirement from 15 years in retirement when he was in broadcasting, came back out of retirement, led the greatest show on turf to a Super Bowl, and then walked back out into the sunset. So he had a 5-year stint with the Chiefs afterwards where he took them to a couple playoffs appearances, but they didn't win anything. But I mean, I think his career is really impressive and the numbers do not indicate that. So that's something I'm glad they got right. I wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I was going to get to that as well. I looked at his like career wins the other day and I'm like, wow, it's actually lower than I thought it would be for Dick Vermeil. And then I started taking it all into account like you just did. And he had a very impressive career.
And his players speak so highly of him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Besides a couple don't, but you know, that's the case with most coaches.
Cliff Branch got in. I'd say he deserves it. He was a little borderline to me, but I can see him getting in. At the same time, if he's in, Stanley Morgan should be in.
Sure.
Sam Mills, a little borderline to me. And I know it was his last year of eligibility, which probably played a role in it. I don't really know about that one. Tony Baselli, that's a Hall of Famer.
Tony Baselli, yeah. I was going to riot if he didn't get it.
Yeah, that's
absolutely needs to be in there. That if you watched that offensive line play when he was on,
my God. I mean, he was just a mountain of a person. Yeah. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from his skill. I mean, but the size that goes along with the skill. I mean, you see guys like Whitworth and Trent Williams kind of use that to contribute to their longevity. And he did a very similar thing and kind of set that path. So, I mean, him and Orlando Pace did the same as well. I don't want to take away credit there. But, I mean, he was such a mountain, and he really established the left tackle as a premier run blocking spot.
Yeah,
as well as just protecting the blind side.
Yeah.
And then the Jags did him dirty and sent him to the expansion Texans.
Classic Jaguars fashion.
Yep, classic Jaguars. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on this because it's the Super Bowl. We'll move right into the game. Like Mark said, this is the first time in a long time that I'm not like stressing myself out over who's going to win or lose the Super Bowl. I have.
Poor you guys.
It's not like the other thing is like it's not like there's a team that I hate in the Super Bowl either, but like I really need to root against. I'd be fine with either of these teams winning the Super Bowl. Matt Stafford going and getting himself a ring, that would be cool to me. Joe Burrow going and getting him, the Cincinnati Bengals actually getting a ring. Hell, I'll probably never see that again.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was referring to too. I wasn't trying to come off as spoiled, rotten Patriot fan.
Oh no, I'm just playing around.
Yeah,
I'm just playing around with you.
Like
guys.
even the last 2 years.
By the way, Sam's a Giants fan.
Yeah,
I tried to make it apparent here.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I just like messing with you guys there.
Yeah, like even like last 2 years, just like Kansas City being involved, the team that I despise. Okay, I have a rooting interest because even if the Patriots aren't involved, I hate that team. Yeah. So it's this is like Steve was saying, any team, either of these teams win, yeah, cool. I have no issue with the Rams. I have no issue with the Bengals.
Yeah, and especially if I'm on the same wavelength. Like, I'm not gonna like spoil my game picks, but I do like emotionally speaking, I do like Cincinnati. Like. I like what they got. I like their fire. I like their spirit. I like a lot of the things they got going. I like their comeback wins. I like their winning despite themselves. Sometimes it's almost like a chaotic normal for them.
I like the underrated free agent signings.
Yeah,
coming up, making huge plays.
I like that the fact that
conference championships.
Their corners are Eli Apple, Chidobe Awuzie, and Mike Hilton, and they're in the Super Bowl. I mean, like. There's a lot of what stuff in the air and they have Joe Burrow is so fun to root for. But on the other side, I mean, Matt Stafford has gone through so much in his career. And I mean, as a Giants fan, I want to preface this. There are some Giants fans that like don't like Odell Beckham Jr. for some reason, as if we didn't do him completely dirty by like kind of promising to build around him and then not really doing that and then kind of leaving him out in the dark when he was getting roasted by the media 24/7 and not stepping up to defend him. But like I don't see the Giants. We made a trade. We got decent pieces that are still being used on this team. And I'm personally happy for him. I'm glad that he gets to go. He's going to a Super Bowl. Good. If he wins the Super Bowl, I'll be happy to see Odell Beckham Jr. with a ring as well. So with Stafford and Odell, I mean, I like both teams. It's just, at the end of the day, it's my job. I gotta make a choice on one of the two. And I got a full document that I can go through, but I don't want to be the one to start it off. So, Steve, I'll kick it back to you.
Well, I did want to say, because you talked about Stafford. What does this do for Matthew Stafford's legacy? Winning a Super Bowl here today. I will bring this out to you. Right now, Matthew Stafford is 12th all time in both yards and touchdowns. He's about 2,000 yards behind John Elway for 11th place. So he'll do that next year. And he's 21 touchdowns behind Fran Tarkenton for 11th all time. So he'll do that next year. If he gets a Super Bowl and possibly a Super Bowl MVP, because normally the quarterback wins that award, is Matt Stafford a Hall of Famer?
I think he really needs the MVP for it to be the case, because if you're looking at it from a voter's perspective, and me personally, like, I give him a lot of credit for having whatever sort of success he made the playoffs once in Detroit. Like, good, that's success in my eyes. But from a voter's perspective, if he goes from that team to the Rams and they win the Super Bowl, but he isn't quote unquote the reason that they win that Super Bowl, I think they then start to question whether that's enough. But if he goes out there, throws 4 touchdowns, wins Super Bowl MVP the year that they traded for him, and that's how they get over the hump, I think it's a lot harder for voters to look at this season in particular and say, wow, look at what he does on a quality team. And, that really bolsters his case. Is it enough? I mean, I hate to bring up this comparison, but I feel like if Eli Manning makes it into the Hall of Fame, I feel like there's a slightly lower barometer. And I don't – Giants fans hate me when I say that, but, like, if you look at the 2 Super Bowls, I understand he won the Super Bowl MVPs, but I think the MVPs are the reason he's there, not the Super Bowls, because we held in 2007 what I would argue is the greatest offense of all time to 17 points.
I don't think he should have won the MVP of the Super Bowls. He's not. And if he doesn't, I don't really think he makes it into to the Giants. But the Giants won those Super Bowls because their defensive line got after Tom Brady.
Absolutely,
a Hall of Fame caliber defensive line.
Both times.
That's why they control the line of scrimmage.
And Eli Manning, assuming from every public poll I've seen,
that's why he'll get into the Hall of Fame.
He's going to get into the Hall of Fame. So then you look at his career and you start comparing careers like Stafford to his, and and I haven't looked at it, but I'm assuming by almost most metrics, Matt Stafford has had a better statistical career than Eli Manning on a per year basis. Maybe Eli Manning has played more seasons, but you then look into, was Eli Manning ever a top 5 quarterback in the NFL during his entire career? Matt Stafford was a borderline top 5 quarterback this year with the way he's played, especially if he walks out of this year with a Super Bowl MVP. So if you put Eli Manning in, don't you have to put Stafford in if he wins Super Bowl and an MVP? I know it's not 2 Super Bowl MVPs, but I mean, by almost every other statistical barometer, he's got to be there. If you're going to put someone like Eli,
it's also who Eli beat. is
Yeah,
part of it.
that's definitely
it's-
I take that into consideration. But I also
but
think
so,
that,
like,
as
I
we
mean-
talked about, the defense and offensive lines had so much to do with that. That I mean, he threw two touchdown passes in the second one, and two touchdowns in the first one, maybe three. It's all about his situational stuff, which is why we come back to the memorable moments.
He had the throw to Manningham in the
The
second
Manningham throw is the best throw of his career. It's one of the best throws I've ever seen.
It's easily the best throw of his career. It was a fucking amazing throw.
One of the best
It
throws.
pissed me off that he made that throw. I was like, the fuck?
I was
You're not supposed to-
jaw dropped in disbelief. I don't want to make you guys go over this. I don't want to. I was just saying, like, Stafford's
you're bringing back
case,
the reason I became an alcoholic.
I'm just Stafford's MVP case. Like, if Eli makes it, then I think Stafford has to make it if he wins the Super Bowl and wins the MVP, just by statistical numbers. And then you're going to really say, okay, is that one Super Bowl that Eli Manning won that he wasn't really the actual reason for going to put him in but keep Stafford out? Is that really how the voters going to play that? Because if I'm a Hall of Fame voter and I'm looking at their careers as a whole, and by that time Eli Manning will have already been voted in, I think I would have no choice but to put Matt Stafford in if he wins the Super Bowl and an MVP.
So for me, it's like, if Stafford wins, Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP this year, it's still a borderline case for Hall of Fame. It wouldn't be a slam dunk Hall of Famer to me. No, without like a couple more seasons, like great statistical seasons and playoff pushes. But without going to the Super Bowl with it, there would be no case. And now there's all of a sudden, like, now it's actually something you can talk about. Before, without that on his record, sitting just outside top 10 in passing yards, never winning a playoff game, it would never be discussed. Also, like, and look at the legacy, like, on the other side for Joe Burrow, already making it to a Super Bowl. Look, if Joe Burrow comes out
a year after a torn ACL,
that's going to go a long way on his resume years down the line.
I don't want to. If he wins one, I don't want to hear the Joe Burrow Hall of Fame talk already.
Dude, if the Bengals win the Super Bowl, we're going to hear that Joe Burrow's the GOAT, and we're going to hear that the Bengals are a dynasty.
Yeah, you're going to hear the D word. Like, people are so quick
they
to get that out there.
They love throwing
Social
the word
media,
dynasty,
baby. Anyway,
they
I
have
didn't
no
mean
idea.
to
They
cut
have
you off,
no
Mark.
idea what it means anymore.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mark. What were you saying?
Oh, no, I was just going to say that the media loves to throw out those prisoner of the moment takes, and it's actually funny because we were seeing the polar opposite of this with Joe Burrow a year ago. People off of a torn ACL were saying, already throwing around the bust term with Joe Burrow. There was, he's probably going to finish last in the division this year. It's like, so you've seen the polar opposite already, but I don't understand why the media can't just let a resume build over time. Like, you need to make these declarations on what kind of track someone's on right away. Even the stuff with Mahomes, and Mahomes has had a great start to his career. People are saying, is he on the GOAT trajectory? Let's cool the Jets. Let's get him have.
Don't even know what GOAT trajectory means.
I didn't realize that one Super Bowl win and an MVP makes you on the trajectory to have 6 or 7. 7 Super Bowl wins. Did I skip? Do we skip a couple?
I didn't want to do terrible Twitter takes today, but I did see one say the other day that Mahomes is already on the same pace that Brady was at this point in his career. I'm like, no, dude, Brady won 3 out of 4 at this point. Fucking.
I was about to say, didn't Brady start his career with
back-to-back Super Bowls at this point in his career, and 2 Super Bowl MVPs.
It's ridiculous, but yeah, with Burrow, this certainly would go a really long way. It would number one, it would mean a hell of a lot to Cincinnati. That fan base has been through the ringer, and to be able to bring them in 2 years to the promised land, and they have been winning in different ways. It has not been all Joe Burrow. That defense in the second half of the conference title game did amazing things against Kansas City to really shut down Mahomes. So it has been a true team effort. But at the end of the day, the quarterback is the one who gets the shine. And in Burrow's defense, he picked up a few first downs with his legs in that game 2 weeks ago. Like he really did his part to lead them, and this would be huge for him, his legacy as he starts to build it.
Yeah, no, I like the kid a lot. I liked him last year, and I started to think maybe Cincinnati's not a great place for him because he got hurt so early. I'm like, this might not go well for his career. But I mean, come this turnaround, great job by the coaching staff. Great job by Burrow. Yeah, the whole team. And like you said, that defense played great last week. Fucking tip of the hat to that defensive coordinator. He fucking adjusted the shit out of that team at halftime. And the Chiefs did not adjust back.
Yeah,
He figured them out at halftime, and they didn't figure him back out.
I have a lot to talk about in terms of Jesse Bates when we get to that subject.
Yeah, so, he's going to get paid a lot this March.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This game is. I feel as though this game is really. He is one of the major factors as to whether or not this game goes well for Cincinnati. There's going to. I had it drawn up on a whiteboard, but I don't know where it is. But like the way that the Rams have been running their 3 wide receiver sets, it's going to be Jesse Bates helping out Eli Apple over the top against Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham Jr. And in the last 2 games, the big plays for the Rams, they've started out with Cooper Kupp in the slot and Odell on the outside, and they have run a play that has had Cooper Kupp wheel underneath Odell while Odell posts. And both times, guys have dragged enough with the post, just enough that Cooper Kupp gets that outside area and gets 30, 40 yards. If Jesse Bates is the one to help out over the top, he's got to stay with Cooper Kupp on that underneath wheel. Otherwise,
easier said than done.
I know, but I mean, if I'm the Bengals, I've been working on this specific set for 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because that's what burned the Bucks, that's what burned the Niners, and that's what will burn the Bengals if they don't prepare for it. That is the go-to for the Rams. They run the 3 wide receiver set at 84% of the time. That's like 8% more than any other team in the league.
So I'm gonna take the Rams to win this game. Sam, do you have the spread? I didn't look at it.
I do. I can pull it up. What I took it at, it was 4.
I saw 4
Rams.
yesterday.
I'm going to check Vegas Insider right now to see if it's changed. I expect it to move a little bit. Yeah, now it's 4.5. I'm expecting it to move to around 5 by kickoff because people are ultimately going to, I think, understand the home field advantage thing a little more. And as the stadium fills up and the place gets a little crazier, I wouldn't be surprised if this line moves to 5 by game time.
5 might be a little high for me to take. I don't think I'll take them to cover. I will take the Rams to win. Look, I picked against Cincinnati, against the Titans and the Chiefs. They made me look stupid both times. So I'm not taking anything away from Cincinnati. I think this is one of the times that talent is going to overmatch the other team in the Super Bowl. I think Cincinnati is a team, they found ways to win, like Mark alluded to. And good for them. And they found ways to win. That's a great thing. But at times you can finding ways to win can only do you so much. It's not to say Cincinnati doesn't have talent, but like Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, that whole Rams team, it's a very loaded team. There's a lot of talent there in that defensive line. Obviously, Cincinnati's weakness is the offensive line. And if that's your biggest weakness, you don't want the other team to have Aaron Donald.
Yeah. I mean,
you don't want the other team to have Aaron Donald in any game you play, really.
I don't think there's ever a scenario where you're like,
yeah, I don't think there's ever a scenario
Donald.
where you're like, I really hope they have Aaron Donald.
You think in the 80s teams were like, hey, you know who I want to line up against me? I want Lawrence Taylor on that other side.
Yeah.
That's who I want to see.
The thing with Cincinnati, though, is they're such an outlier. Like, they won a game in this postseason where they allowed 9 sacks. Like, so the offensive line is absolutely
10% of the time.
Yeah,
less than 10% of the time.
Like it's been so weird. I'm picking Cincinnati. I've been riding them all postseason. I don't think they covered against the Raiders, but I think they've since then they've covered every one of their games. And they're on a run right now that is kind of inexplicable. You don't think that they would have won either of the last two matchups, but they have. And additionally, with the Rams on paper, they should win and cover this game. They should theoretically win by 2 touchdowns, but they have gone up big in a couple of these games, and then they've struggled to put teams away. I mean, they did everything in their power to blow that Bucks game. Like, people were talking about Tom making another comeback. That was 1,000% a Rams implosion. Had very little to do with Tom.
Jalen Ramsey got torched.
Yeah,
so bad.
And then I wasn't thrilled with how they played against San Francisco either. And so they kind of narrowly escaped with that one. I have a feeling that if they win, it might be by a last-second field goal. I just don't love the way that they have closed out games in these playoffs.
Yeah, I am gonna take the Rams. I took them at -4. I'll still take them if they're down at 5, but I wouldn't like it too much. I have 3.5 from when it opened and 4 now. I don't want to ramble, so I'm going to try not to. But apologies if I do. This is just the worst matchup for the Cincinnati Bengals possible. I was talking about it with some people earlier. I think if the Bengals were to play the Packers in this game, they'd have a great chance to win. I think if they were to play the Bucks in this game, they'd have a great chance to win. I think if they played the Niners, it would be tough because Shanahan knows how to coach against them. But I think they'd have a better chance to win. The problem here, as Steve alluded to, is that offensive line. But it's not just the offensive line. The left side of the offensive line is actually good. I don't know if anyone's looked at the Pro Football Focus grades, but Jonah Williams and Quentin Spain are both pretty decent on that left side. The problem is the right side. They have Akeem Adeniji, I hope I pronounced that name right, and Isaiah Prince at right guard and right tackle. They're their 2 worst offensive linemen. Lined up against them on the other side is going to be Aaron Donald and Von Miller. That's who lines up on that side for the Rams. So it's horribly placed for them. And it's not like you can just move guys over, those are the guys they have to go up against. And Aaron Donald gets double teamed about 70% of the time. I think it's one of the most ridiculous numbers in the league. I actually have a play on Von Miller to win Super Bowl MVP at plus 3,600 because I think that he's going to have so many opportunities with Joe Burrow having to step up into the pocket. Aaron Donald being covered by 2 guys on that weak right side and Von Miller speed rushing off the same side. But in addition to that, as I mentioned, the 3 wide receiver sets, Cooper Kupp and Odell lined up against Eli Apple is going to force Jesse Bates to do most of the help on the side. Wherever Cooper Kupp goes, which I think means Odell Beckham is going to have an amazing game over the middle of the field because Von Bell is going to have to cover him and whoever's on the other side as well. And I mean, for as well as Cincinnati's O-line played against Kansas City, we have to remember how bad Kansas City was on the defensive line. Their adjusted line yards allowed ranking was 27th. Adjusted sack rate rank was 26th. The Rams are not like that. The Rams are 6th in adjusted line yards allowed and 8th in adjusted sack rate. They have 50 sacks on the season. The Bengals gave up 55 sacks in the regular season. That's 3rd most to only the hospital Ravens, who were picking up guys from Costco to play by the end of the year, and the Bears. Justin Fields was pressured on 43% of his passes, I believe, highest rate in the league when he played. This is just not a good matchup for Joe Burrow because he also likes to step up to the right, and that's the side that Aaron Donald and Von Miller are going to be coming off of against the weakest part of Cincinnati's offensive line. In addition, Cincinnati gets themselves into a lot of 3rd and long situations. So to calculate this, I did 3rd and 6 plus. That's what I considered to be 3rd and long. So that might not be necessarily accurate to what the NFL does. They do 7 or 8. But in those situations, they have 118 passing plays out of those situations this season. They have a 30% successful play rate in those situations. Now, I don't necessarily know what Sharp Football Stats considers a successful play, but I would imagine that would be a first down or something close to a first down. They can go for it.
One would think.
I believe in Joe Burrow. I like this team. As I told you guys, I am emotionally invested. I like them. I really do. I like their emotion. I like their momentum. But I can't make my picks based on momentum or emotion. Otherwise, I wouldn't be a smart better. I got to bet smart, not hard. And for me personally, and I'm not disparaging anyone who takes the other side for sure, because I've been on Cincinnati since the beginning of the postseason as well. I had them to beat the Raiders, but the Raiders to cover. I had them to beat the Titans. I had them to lose to the Chiefs, admittedly, but I did have them to cover the spread. So I'll give myself 0.5 there. But
Half a pat on the
the
back.
Chiefs have also had the easiest schedule, the second easiest schedule in the league in terms of opposing defenses. They've only faced they've only faced 2 top 10 teams in the league this season besides the Chiefs, which I describe as an outlier because the Chiefs have such a horrible secondary and a horrible defensive line that they're the easiest matchup for the Bengals probably in the world or in the league for them in terms of playoff teams. But when they play top 10 teams besides the Chiefs this season, which only happened twice because of their schedule, they're 0-2. And I believe it was the Packers and the Niners. So, and those are both teams, by the way, that the Rams have beaten either in the regular season or in the playoffs. So I like the Rams here to win this game. My model has it at 30-24, so that covers 4, 4.5, or 5. I don't like it as much at 5 because that's only a 1-point advantage. But I really do think the Rams come out on top here. And I did sprinkle, just because it's the Super Bowl, I did take an exact score bet of 30-24 as well. So I'm not advising anyone to take that, but I am saying that I think the Rams win this game and cover. And I think the money line is a little undervalued as well, even though it's minus 200. I know people don't usually like taking that, but I think it should be around 250, 275 because I think the line should be closer to 6 or 7. So, yeah, I like the Rams -4 or -4.5 now, I guess, and I like minus 200.
All right. So lastly, do some props. I just found one I actually really like. First of all, I love Super Bowl broadcast props. That's like one of my favorite
Have you heard of the
things.
Chris Collinsworth prop?
How many?
What's the Chris Collinsworth prop?
There's a pair. So I haven't found it, but apparently it's on. On my bookie. Apparently there's a prop out there of an over/under of how many times Chris Collinsworth says, "Now here's a guy."
Oh yes.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Oh my God. Please, Sam.
It's
Sam,
5.5. It's 5.5.
You have it?
I have to. I don't have a MyBookie account. I'll see if I can create one in the next couple hours and get verified. But what I will say is, I've watched every Chris Collinsworth broadcast this year, and there are 2 ways to think about this because he hasn't said it all year.
Yeah, he hasn't.
Now, there's 2 ways to think of this. Either one, someone said, "Chris, you say this way too much. You got to stop." And he did. Or he's saving them all up for one big, gigantic Super Bowl bonanza of everyone's here's a guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's a bunch of now here's a guys.
5.5 might either be the lock of the century one way or the other. Because he might not say it once, or he might say it a gazillion times. This is the biggest wild card prop in the game.
So I just saw will Joe Burrow be compared to Macaulay Culkin?
What's the
I
line?
like that.
Let me pull it back.
I want to take yes. It's Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels. They're going to act a fool.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking too. I want to say it's yes.
Well, Michaels, this is his his last hurrah. So
oh yeah, I don't
plus
know if
650
show, but he's a wild one.
Plus 650 for yes.
Oh my God!
And minus 3,000 for no.
Oh, I hope I have that somewhere. I hope it's on. I hope it's on.
Now I have. Will Joe Burrow be shown smoking a cigar?
Oh, that's 1,000%
and
yes.
Yes is
that's
plus 700.
They don't only if they win.
No, because it just says will he be?
No, but I'm saying he's only going to smoke one if they lose.
They can show the highlights. They can show the video of him smoking the cigar at LSU during the game.
Got you. Love that.
Yeah, they're definitely going to do that.
100% they're doing that.
Yeah.
And then I had which former player will be shown first. Collinsworth plus 575. And Ickey Woods is like plus 390.
Ickey?
Is he going to be there?
I mean, it's Cincinnati.
Well, I mean, because it also is which former player will be shown first. Does it mean like in uniform, like a picture.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure
that's
what
what
that
that's
means,
dicey.
honestly.
Let me see if I can pull it back up here.
So I bet the national anthem every year.
Same, but I'm
Yeah.
struggling here.
I always bet over. Last year did not work out for me. Most years it does. Most years they always like to hold those notes.
Yeah.
But so I will. That might be a game time decision for me whether I go over or under. Usually I go over.
Well, you know the story about who's singing it this year, right? Quickie
No.
Mickey. So basically, because I I do far too much research into this stuff because I have no life. So I basically the person who's singing this, she's a country R&B singer, which does bode well for the holding of the notes. But her nickname is Quickie Mickey because she's notorious for singing the national anthem incredibly fast, which is why
Ooh.
the number is low this year. So
What?
I'm really struggling to make a choice because she could either go the country R&B way and hold it, or she could stay true to the name, which I don't know enough about her. She's only done it a few times.
Has anyone been studying tape on her? Let's see the tape.
I've been looking for the person outside. I've been looking for the person with the video outside.
This is why Sam runs my betting show, because he's looked into that stuff.
I can't find a video. There's nobody recording it from outside like I had with Demi Lovato 2 years ago. That was an absolute slam of an under. But now I have no idea where I'm going with this, to be honest. Like, it's going to be a game time decision. It really is. I think I'm going to panic bet the over. That seems like a good call.
That usually is what I do as well.
When in doubt, take the over.
That it's which former player will be shown first in an image or highlight. Boomer Esiason minus 145. Kurt Warner plus 300 is random as hell. Chris Collinsworth plus 575. Ickey Woods plus 790. Marshall Faulk plus 810. Eric Dickerson plus 1400. I kind of like the Collinsworth and Woods lines because
Boomer was on the Super Bowl team, right? The last
Boomer was on the Super Bowl team. Boomer's going to get shown.
I actually like Kurt Warner.
But so was Collinsworth. Collinsworth was on the Super Bowl team.
Kurt Warner on the last Rams.
He was on the last Rams Super Bowl team. Yes, that's right.
See, in this instance, like I think it's going to be Boomer because they haven't won in so long, and it's like, oh, this is the last time they won. It's Boomer. But at the same time, Kurt Warner is also an analyst and also a guy who's a great story with getting taken out of the grocery store.
And that's almost why I wanna take
plus 300.
Collinsworth at the same time too, because he's the broadcaster of the game.
True.
I could easily see.
He was on the Super Bowl team? Okay.
He played in the Super Bowl against the Niners.
Okay.
The thing is with the
Rams, I can easily see Michaels being like, "Oh, Chris, remember when you played in this game?"
The thing is with the Rams,
and then Collinsworth. Now here's a guy.
That looks like me because it was me. Playing with a guy who looks like Boomer Esiason. That was a terrible impression, but you get the point.
Horrible.
I have a terrible Chris Collinsworth. Now here's a guy.
We need to get an impressions guy.
We need to get him on here. That's the problem.
Yeah, we don't. Collinsworth hasn't come on the show. We're stuck here doing impressions of him.
Yeah,
that's really the issue. Yeah, Collinsworth should be here so we don't have to do this.
Yeah, he should just tell us how many he's going to do. Honestly.
Yeah, Chris, how many times are you going to say, "Now here's a guy"?
Yeah, help a guy out, Chris.
Listen,
I am frantically
say it over 5.5 times, and we can split the winnings. How's that?
I am frantically scrolling through my Caesar Sports account trying to find this.
I don't know what exactly the prop is for Odell Beckham Jr. receiving yards. However,
I took it. It's 66 and a half.
I saw Eli Apple say that he wants to cover OBJ, and I'm smashing the over based on that alone.
Right? I don't know how to point properly. It's this Giants, dude. Did anyone see the film that Art Stapleton put out from the training camp in 2016 between Odell and Eli Apple?
No,
it's one route. It's all you need to see. It's one route, and it's not even a deep route. Odell gets up, beats him off the line, gets held twice, breaks in, gets held again, breaks back out, gets pulled, still gets 3 yards of separation in the catch.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
That's
not good.
exactly, yeah. I have Odell Beckham over 66.5 receiving yards. It's my favorite prop of the game. I mean, first of all, I mean, I would be a little, if I have to be honest and say I am a little biased, I am rooting for him. But what I was talking about earlier, I don't want to emphasize too much, but Jesse Bates has to be occupied with Cooper Kupp if the Bengals want a chance at winning this game. And I know the Bengals have to know that after seeing the film on the last 2 games. I mean, if I can see it watching NFL All 22 film, I'm sure they've seen it in their practice room. So
Hope so.
yeah, so I imagine that Jesse Bates is going to help on Cooper Kupp when Eli Apple beats him, because or when Cooper Kupp beats Mike Hilton, because those are going to be the 2 guys on that side most of the time. And so that just leaves a lot of the middle of the field for Von Bell to cover, with Van Jefferson and whoever's playing tight end, not Tyler Higbee, Kendall Blanton on the other side, which is granted not as lethal, but you can't leave them wide open because you're the safety. No one gets behind you. That's the rule. So now you have to cover Odell in the middle and Van Jefferson on the outside and wherever Kendall Blanton is, because Jesse Bates is occupied with Cooper Kupp and the double on him over there. So I think Odell is a great look for props today. And I think that he's definitely going to be involved, because even though Cooper Kupp is the best receiver on this team, without a shadow of a doubt, the best receiver in this game, he's still not like Odell Beckham Jr. is the best explosive receiver they have. He's the guy that you can throw him the ball. Like, as a Giants fan, I can tell you throw him a slant, he can take it 75 yards. Cooper Kupp is great, but he's not necessarily the speed burst guy. He doesn't need to be. But Odell Beckham Jr. is the explosive one. I think if he has that much room in the middle of the field, he could get that 66.5 yards in one play.
100%. Yeah, I can see that. Sam probably going to make you play that bet for me.
Gotcha.
Anyway, that's all I got for today.
I got one more prop I want to throw in there. One more.
All right. Here we go.
This is a science day. This is a science-backed prop, and it doesn't come from me. To be fair, it comes from the Score and Pat McAfee. But no touchback on the first kickoff of the game, minus
my father said this to me the other day. No, it's
93%
of the time in the Super Bowl.
93.9. I'm rounding up to 94.
93 point. Ooh, we got 94 here.
Out of 28 Super Bowls that this line has been available, no touchback has hit. And it consistently remains at good value. This line was at plus 130 last week. Since that article came out, now it's minus 120. But I'll still take it because the reasoning for it is solid. It's not just because people are worried or nervous, cold feet. It's because there's a difference in the ball. According to Pat McAfee, guys who do kickoffs, Pat McAfee, by the way, did a kickoff in the Super Bowl and kicked it off to Devin Hester, who returned it for a touchdown. You bet your ass he didn't want to kick it there. He definitely wanted to kick it out of the back of the end zone. Pat McAfee said that the ball is usually you're allowed to break it in before you kick it off. You're allowed to do a couple kicks with it, practice with it, whatever you want to do. In the Super Bowl, you can't do that. The first time you're allowed to touch the kickoff ball is when you're putting it on the tee for the kickoff. And he claims that it felt like kicking a shiny, hard piece of plastic. I know Evan McPherson and Matt Gay both have good legs, but I'm taking no touchback. I'm taking the 94% at minus 120. That's amazing value if you look at the number comparison on 94% value and where that line should be. I love no touchback. And I'm also taking tails.
Tails never fails.
Sam's betting on a lot of things.
It's definitely the Super Bowl.
He definitely doesn't have a gambling problem.
No.
We would not support that sort of thing.
I don't have in The Last Dance. I don't have a gambling problem. I have a competition problem.
I like it. I like
gamble.
that.
I invest in player performance. All right. Let's use leave some different language around here.
Yeah, it's like when I used to say I don't steal things. I just acquire them.
Exactly. as we were talking about at the beginning of the show, listen, we both have things we're not too proud of, but it's a great way to wrap it up. Big circle, start to finish.
Yep. So we'll go off on that note since Sam brought us full circle there. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy your Super Bowl. Of course, I had Sam and Mark here with me. You guys want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah,
if I know who goes first.
Yeah, I decided to just jump the gun, avoid the awkward stuff. You can find us at Source Podcast 11 on Twitter. I have that's me and my co-host Job, great man. He's been on Steve's show a couple times. You can also find us at www.sourcepodcast.com and any place you listen to podcasts. You can find us at the Source Podcast with Job Goddard and Sam Hiller. DM us if you have any questions. And we have our own betting stream coming out today at 3:00 for another hour-long session before the Super Bowl. If you guys have any questions, join us over there. I'm going to be a workhorse today, Steve. I promised. And yeah, that's all from me. I'm done with the self-plugs now. It's been great to be on with you guys.
Yeah, always great having you on, buddy. Mark, how about you?
So I can be found on Twitter at Mark Pacelli13. That is Piselli. And you can always check out forthefansmedia.com. Just something that some of my friends and I have started. We have a bunch of pods there and some blogs. So check it out. A lot of great stuff.
Yeah, all good stuff there. Well, like I said, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I will be back next week at my time of 12:00 Eastern time, not 1:00. I was just running off Central time today, guys.
Hey, man, it happens.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Happens to all of us. Our blue collar bets was supposed to be 8:00 on Friday. It was 9. You know.
Yeah. We switched to Central time for the week here. Blue collar.
Things happen, and you got.
We were trying it out, seeing how it went.
Technical
I
difficulty.
like Eastern time better. We're gonna go back to Eastern time next week.
Yeah, it feels weird. I live with some people who are on the West Coast, who used to live on the West Coast, and they like the afternoon Super Bowl. I don't know. I like it as a night event, but then again, their football games start at 10 a.m. So
yeah, see, I like football games at 10 a.m. to me, man.
I do what I don't. I do a lot of research on Sunday mornings before games.
Oh, see, I'm always up at like 6:00 on Sundays anyway, so.
I get up at 8 o'clock on
10
8 o'clock on Sunday mornings, but like I need more than 2 hours.
Well, see, you got to wake up earlier. See, that's a personal problem.
Is it a personal problem or a personal solution to get more sleep? I'm still not sure.
See, now you're asking too many questions at the end of the show, Sam.
Too many.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, folks, I will be back next week and I will talk about whatever the fuck I decide to talk about.